Thanks everyone for joining today. This webinar about how to improve the SEO of your content, of your blog articles. As I mentioned before, we will be recording this webinar, so you will find an email with the recording probably this week or early next week. If there are any questions, please, you have the Q&A option right in the middle below. So you can send all your questions there, everything related to the webinar. If we don't have time to cover all the topics, no worries, because we will send you an email afterwards. But today we also have a special guest, Brick. He is our Chief of Marketing at StoryChief, and he'll make sure that he replies all these questions while we are still in the webinar. But as I said, if we don't have time, we will contact you individually in the coming days. My name is Carmen. I'm Customer Success Manager at StoryChief. And today, as you know, we are going to have a look at how to optimize your content to make sure that you rank high on Google and other search engines. So I'm just going to share my screen here. So why is SEO important and what is SEO? So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization, and it's basically letting Google know what your content is about and how important and how relevant your content is, so that people looking for a specific topic on Google can find your content and your topics and your services above the ones from the competitors. So it's really important to have a good SEO strategy to make sure that your content is always optimized, so that once a user or someone is looking for a specific topic in Google, something that we all do, that they can find you easier and quicker than your competitors, basically. For example, if you, as you see in the screen, if you look for content marketing goals on the internet, you will find one of our blog articles as the first one, which means that we have more chances that you click on our website than on the website of our competitors. And how we did this, or why is this? This is basically because we made sure that the keywords that we were using and that the way we present our content is consistent, is reliable, and Google knows this. So Google knows that our content deserves the first place for these specific keywords. Keyword or key phrases is what people use to look for on the internet. So that's why it is so important. The goal is that you try to get on the first page on Google, on the first page of results. How do we get to the first page? So there are typically two ways to do this. One is by advertising, so you pay to be advertised on the first page. This will bring your traffic really quick into your website. It will be a good push, but it's not really consistent over time because it becomes really expensive. And in the moment you stop paying for those ads, then the traffic will go down. So it's good for a specific period of time, but this is not something that you can do for a few weeks or months or even years. On the other hand, SEO makes sure that you get your content in a consistent way, that Google starts to know you, that you get some authority, and then you will get a free stream of traffic and leads into your website in a consistent way. So it will take some time to ramp up, but once it does it, then you will always know that you get extra traffic for free. It doesn't cost you much. And you can make it over time, you can keep it over time. So that's why SEO keeps being as important as a few years ago. How can we optimize SEO? So I think I've convinced you now about how important SEO is, but how can you optimize it? How can you make sure that your content is SEO optimized? Luckily, at StoryChief, we provide with help. We have an SEO feature built in that will give you some tips because basically Google will look at a number of factors, especially the keywords. So first, it's important that you do a keyword research that you find those keywords that are important for your content, but also relevant to your potential leads. So how can you find those keywords? There are many tools out there. There are agencies, freelancers, people you can ask for help. But you can also talk with your own team. So talk to your potential customers, talk to your existing customers, find out what their pains and needs are, and they will probably say some words that are keywords for you. So you can use those to build content around it and use it, because those are the words that they will be typing when looking for a specific service or a specific product. So that's a great piece of advice to ensure that you find the right keywords. Next to that, you need also make sure that the readability is in line with the SEO score. So readability is basically how easy and how informative and relevant your content is, but also the structure of it. For example, if it has a specific structure with subheadings, if it's easy to read, if it doesn't have any grammar mistakes. So there are many factors to take into account when writing, and it can be a bit overwhelming to know all of this by heart. So no one knows all of this. That's why there are tools for this, as StoryChief offers. So we are going to do this today during our webinar. We are going to have to take a specific piece of text, and we are going to optimize it until we can get as high as possible on the SEO score and on the readability score. So let's dive right in. So this is my workspace. I think most of you already know it from previous webinars. First of all, I want to announce that we have just launched an SEO course for free in our academy. So if you click here at the top right on Academy, then you go to our academy courses. We already have 3. And this is the one that is the most relevant for this specific topic. So here you will find a list of short videos made by Liam from Inkwell, who is helping us to make sure you understand what SEO is and how you can use it in the right way. So it's a series of short videos. They all take about 1 hour, and they give you great tips, basic knowledge as well, but also how to make sure that you can optimize your SEO. So I would recommend that after this webinar or tomorrow, you have a look at this. It's for free. It's available to you, so you can use it right away. And something that I also wanted to announce, which I always do, is our referral program. So if you are here, probably you already know StoryChief. You probably like using StoryChief. So if you know anyone around you who can benefit from StoryChief and they become a customer, you can get €100 or dollar voucher to spend on an online shop, and this friend or this person around you will also get a 10% discount on the first invoice. So it's a win-win situation. You can click on claim here at the top, and then you find instructions and your unique link that you need to share with the people around you to make sure that they open an account with us. So now we can get started. Let's dive into the stories overview. So as you know, here we have all our stories, all the blog articles that we have been writing. And here I have one article still on draft, which has been written by one of our freelancers, and is pending because the freelancer sent it to me for approval. So I wanted to have a look and see how optimized it is. So I'm gonna go right into the editor to find out what this article is. So I come in. First, what I see is the review modal, which I can close for now. I will come back later. I can also consult the editorial brief that I've given to her in the past, so that she knew what she had to write about. So here, for example, I asked her to use these keywords, and then this is a message. It goes about the ROI of content marketing, and who is our audience and why, and all the instructions that she needed to know to write the story. So if I have a look at the article, I see the title, I see some text, some links, bold, some titles or headings somehow. I see quite some text, so it looks okay, right? It looks okay. I may be already happy and approve it, but actually, if I open our SEO feature, I realize that it's only 53%, it's only scoring 53% on SEO and only 50% on readability. So actually, it's not as good as I thought it was. But we have a solution for this. As you can see here, there are some tips that we can follow to improve the text and make sure that the score goes as high as possible. Ideally to 100%, but it can be also 90, depending, of course, of the keyword and on your feeling about it. But the first step is adding our keyword. So this field is still empty, and we still need to tell Google what the topic is about and what our keyword for this specific piece of text is. So in my case, I already said that is the ROI of content marketing, so I can just type it in, and now the system will recalculate. So the SEO is going already up to 72%, which is already in line with what we want to achieve, but we can still do a bit better. So let's find out what we can improve. Here we find a list of tips and guidance that we can follow to improve the text, to optimize the text. The ones at the bottom, which are in green, it means that we have already done that. So there are a few things well done. For example, the key phrase length is good. The key phrase is present in the introduction, which is always a plus point. The density is also good. There are enough links. The key phrase is in our Slack. So there are already a few things well done. But there are also a few others that can be improved. Especially the ones with the red color are really crucial. So let's have a look one by one until we optimize it. First, we get this one, which is not necessarily bad or good. It's just a statement. We have some stop words in the key phrase. Stop words are those small words, for example, prepositions that don't really add any value. But in this case, I don't want to change it because, yeah, it makes the key phrase the way it is. So I'm just gonna leave it like it is. I'm assuming the risk here. But let's move one further down and see what this one is saying about. So the meta description length, so no meta description has been specified. So we don't have a meta description yet. Search engines will display copy from the page instead. Make sure to write one. So the meta description is actually the summary or the small description that people find when looking on Google. So if we click on edit, the system will actually bring us to the place where we have to make that change. So let's do that. I'll click on edit, and now we have been moved from the right tab to the summary tab and specifically to the SEO settings. So here I find my meta description field, which is indeed empty. So let's fill it in with some data. So let's go back to the right, and I'm just gonna take some text here, for example, like this. I copy it, I go to the summary, again to the SEO settings, and now I'm going to paste it. But now it's too long, right? So we get also the message or the error that the meta description is too long, and then it will be cut. And we don't want that because otherwise it gives the impression that, you know, the content is not really clean, that we didn't take care of this. So let's just, for example, remove this, something like this, or we can even shorten it up a bit more. So until we make sure that it fits a specific number of characters, which are important to Google. So now we see that the tip is gone. We can find it back into the green tips, and then the SEO is already a bit up to 74%, which is not bad, but we still have some work to do. For example, the key phrase meta description. The meta description has been specified, yeah, we've done that, but it does not contain the key phrase. Okay, so we actually need to improve it a bit more. So we can say, for example, let's take another part of this, and let's say, for example, how to measure. So we will take this part instead. Okay. So now we have our key phrase in here. We can still make it a bit longer. Something like this, right? So it looks a bit better. And look, our SEO score is already up by 77%. So we are even 80%. So we are already going into the right direction. If we keep reading, we see that no images appear in the story. Okay, so we go back to the story and we see that there is no media, there are no images, no video, so it's really plain text, which is okay, but it's always recommended to add some media, some enriched media or videos or things that can be interactive to make sure that people get attached to the story and to the blog article and they keep reading. So I'm just going to add a couple of images. So I just tap on enter and then I find the bar with all the options. So I'm just going to add an image from my media library, but you can also get images from your computer, from URLs, from any other DAM systems, or even from Unsplash, which is a royalty-free database. In my case, I will go to the media library, so I'll take this image, perfect. And now I'm going to add another one a bit below in the text. For example, let's say here. So I'll do the same. I go to my media library and then I select the other image. And that's how we have both images already embedded in our article. So now we are already at 84%. We keep reading and we see that the slug has some stop words. So as I said in the beginning, stop words are those prepositions, small words that don't really add any value. So we can maybe tweak the slug so that it doesn't include them. So I click on edit once again and I go to this part. So by default, the slug will be the title of the story, but I can overwrite it. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't include any stop words. So I'm just gonna say proof growing content marketing. That's it. So now I don't have any stop words in here, and we see that the tip has also moved away from the list of pending improvements. We go back to the right section. We keep reading. Key phrase distribution is uneven. Some parts of your story do not contain the key phrase. Distribute them more evenly. If I click on show, I will see where actually the key phrase is present. So for example, here and here. So everything that is in blue is actually showing the key phrase. So I can easily see if some parts needs more present of this key phrase, which is the case, for example, here at this top or even here below. But to be honest, I think it's okay. Doesn't bother me. It's okay. I think I'm just gonna ignore it for now, which is also a possibility. You don't have to follow all of them just because. We keep reading and we find some information about the alt attributes on the images because our images don't have any alt tags. So what is an alt tag? Basically, it's telling Google, but also some users who may be visually impaired or may not be able to read it through. We are telling them what the image is about. So it's actually describing the image so that people who cannot really see it know what it's about and have some extra context. So you can add the alt tag by clicking on the image and then you click on this eye. So here you can enter the description. It can be a short or a long sentence you choose. In my case, I will say content marketing stats or content marketing tips, for example, in this case. So I click on save. And now we already have added our alt tag for this image. And let's do the same with the other one. So I click again on the image and then on the eye, and then here I'm gonna type content marketing stats, for example, but it can be longer, that's up to you. In the meanwhile, we got already to the 90%, so it's looking really good in terms of SEO, but let's see if we can still improve it a bit more. So, for example, the key phrase in title, the exact match of the key phrase appears in the SEO title, but not at the beginning. Try to move it to the beginning. So let's have a look at where this is exactly present. So we see that the SEO title is the title of our story and is including the key phrase, but not at the beginning. But again, that's okay. I don't want to change the whole title just because I think 90% is already doing great. So it's up to me, I leave it the way it is. However, I get another tip in here that says that the SEO title is too short. Use the space to add key phrase variations or create compelling call to actions, for example. So yeah, let's give it a bit more content to it. So I'm just gonna rewrite it. So how to prove the ROI of content marketing. Some examples, for example. So I'm already guiding the users into what they can expect from the story, from the article. So I'm giving some examples in the content, and that's why I want them to, I want to use this as a call to action. So yeah, that's it. The ones that are left are the ones that I decided not to change. And by now our SEO score is already 94%. So I think it's good enough. I think I've done a great job. So SEO-wise, the story is already ready to go, but we still have some things to improve on the readability. So let's have a look at this as well. In the meanwhile, make sure to send all your questions and everything. For example, there is already one question here. Is this SEO feature usable for different languages? And Brick is already working fast and giving answers. And he says that SEO works for English, German, Dutch, Spanish, French, Italian, Portuguese, Russian, Polish, Swedish, Hungarian, Indonesian, Czech, Arabic, Hebrew, Turkish, Norwegian, and Slovak. And 90% of the SEO tips work for all languages. That means that you can write your content in any other language, and the tips that you receive from the feature will still be really tailored to that specific language. But if you do so, don't forget here in the summary tab to actually enter the specific language for the content, so that Google also knows, and you as well, and your website as well, what language the story is written in. But yeah, as you can see, most of the languages or the most popular ones are supported, so that shouldn't stop you from improving and optimizing your content. Okay, if there are any other questions, feel free to send them over. You see that Brick is working really hard. But now let's move into the readability score. As I said in the beginning, readability is also important because it gives Google the enough information about how interesting, informative, and how easy your content is, how and how the users find it interesting. So if, for example, they come into the article, but they only stay for like 20 seconds and they leave, then Google knows, okay, the content wasn't relevant to the user, maybe it's not what they expected, maybe it wasn't easy to read, maybe it wasn't easy to have an overview. So Google knows how long people stay on a specific blog article. So the more you can improve the readability, the more chances that Google knows, okay, this is a reliable blog article, and the score is going to be a bit higher. So here again, you need to follow the same tips. The ones in green have already been done, and then the ones in red and orange can be improved. For example, there are enough active voice. There are not too many passive voices, which are always a bit more difficult to follow. There is a lot of variety in the sentences, a good mix. Also enough transition words. and then the length sentence at the meta description, for example, is really good. So we've done already some things good, but let's have a look at what other things we can improve. For example, subheading distribution. You are not using any subheadings, although your text is rather long. Try and add some subheadings. So if we have a look at the article, we see some titles maybe, but they are not really formatted as a subheading. So Google doesn't know that they are actually titles. Just by putting them in bold doesn't mean that they become titles. So we need to tell Google what these titles are, and also that's important visually for the users who will understand the different paragraphs and the different sections within your article. So let's convert those ones into proper subheadings. For example, a header 2, this one as well. Here, for example, we see that this one belongs to this section, so this will be a header 3, this one as well. And then we still have a few more, so this is also a header 3. And this is already a header 2 again, that's a new section, and this is also a new section to finish the article. So now all my content has some subheadings, it's already structured in a easier way, and the readability is already going up. But there are a few more things to do. For example, paragraph length. One of the paragraphs contains more than the recommended maximum of 150 words. I think we all know what paragraph that is, and this is this one at the top, which is really long, and that makes it very difficult for users to focus and to keep reading on the content. So I'm just gonna split it in smaller paragraphs, for example here as well, and also here. So now the article is easier to read, it's a bit nicer and more visually appealing, and the readability just went up to 82%, so it's working. Something else that we have is the sentence length, for example. So 37% of the sentences contain more than 20 words. We can also click on show to see what words or what sentences these are. So these are rather long sentences, but also this type of content is really technical. So it makes sense that the sentences are a bit longer. It makes sense that they go and they are targets for specific people who are a bit more technical. So to be honest, it doesn't bother me. I leave it the way it is. Our story is scoring quite well in the Flash reading test. So it's okay. It's a bit difficult, but as I said, it's a technical text. So it's expected that it's a bit difficult to read. But that's the way I want it. I don't want to change my text completely just to get to 100%. I think 82 is already fair enough. But this is also up to you, up to your feeling, and up to how you write content and how you see the content is performing. So this is also something that may differ from one customer to another. So we are actually ready to go. So we can close this modal. I can reopen it again as many times as I want by clicking here or by clicking here on the SEO optimizer. But I think we've done a great job. I think the story is showing as good as we could even wish for. So I think we are ready to go. I could already approve the content and then schedule it or publish it, but I also want to show you a couple more things. So we have embedded some images to make it more attractive, more interactive, but there are way more types of media that you can embed. It doesn't have to be an image or it doesn't have to be a link. It can be way more. So how do you do that? It's really easy. If you just tap on enter, then you see again this bar. And you can embed images as we've done before, but also image galleries, videos, for example, from YouTube or from Wistia or from Loom. But also you can enrich, you can embed enriched media. So this means, for example, that you can embed an Insta post, a table, a podcast, a TikTok video, a Facebook post. It can be many things. as long as they have a share link for that, then you can embed it here. So if you click on this option, you get a place where you can actually paste the link. So let's do that. I have here our StoryChief Instagram account where I have there are a couple of posts, and I actually want to embed the post about this SEO course that I have announced in the beginning of the webinar. So I just need to get the share link for this. So I click on copy link. I go back to my story and I just paste the link in here. So now I click on enter, and this is my Instagram post being embedded. I can also change the size, and this will be interactive. So once published, people will be able to give it a like, to comment. The number of likes will also be updated. So actually it's a really Insta post inside of a story, which makes the content way more interactive and way more fun to read. But you can apply this to many other things, as I said, TikTok videos or a podcast, for example, that people can click on and listen to. So it can be many things. Something else that you can also do is actually embed a contact form to generate leads, and that's something that we do and a lot of B2B companies do as well. So once you have got the attraction of a lead and they are reading through your content, if they are interested and they would like to know more, you can give them the opportunity to just subscribe to it or leave their details as easy as possible. You want to keep things easy. So they will be added to your CRM, for example, or you can get an email, or you can add them to any other platform you have an integration with. So let's have a look at this. Let's say I go to the bottom of the article, just at the end. I click again on enter, and in this case, I see this option here, add lead capture form. So if I click here, I can select one contact form that I have. For example, I already have one, which is linking to my ambassadors channel. So I have an ambassadors list, which is called prospects, where I actually add everyone that is interested in knowing more, and I want to nurture them with more content, with more blog articles or more social posts that I publish. So you can, for example, tell them, hey, if you want to know more, if you want to receive live updates from us, just leave your details here and we will send you some extra information. So then you can just select this specific contact form and it will be embedded in the story. This is what our typical contact form look like. It's just the first name, the last name, and the email address, as simple as possible. And people who filled the details in, so you can just fill in with your name, last name, and all the details. Then they will be automatically added to your ambassador list. This is one of the many examples. There are other examples. For example, you can also embed a HubSpot contact form, a Typeform contact form, or you can also link a StoryChief contact form to your CRM, which can be team leader, it can be Salesforce, it can be many. So if we go back and we click on create a new leads form, then we actually go to the integrations page where we can see all the possibilities. So these ones at the top are all the options that we offer. So you can just receive an email every time someone leaves their details, or you can work with API to make a connection to your CRM or any other tool, or as I said, you can add these people to a specific ambassadors list, or link it to your CRM, Salesflare, Team Leader, MailChimp, Salesforce, or HubSpot CRM or HubSpot Form. So there are many possibilities here. Let's see, for the ones here at the bottom, these are all already configured. That means that you can already copy-paste a link and then it will be already embedded. So let's have a look at that. I'm gonna go back to my story. And then I'm going to show you how to embed a contact form that is coming from Typeform, but it could be any other platform as well. So I go back to the editor. I go all the way down And here I can actually get rid of this, and I'll use the enrich media again. So I click this option, and now I go to my type form, contact form, which I have it here. So this is my form for leads that want to register. I just get the share link for that one, which is here. So I click on copy link, and now I go back to StoryChief. I click on paste, and this is it. Now I have embed my own contact form coming from Typeform, but again, it could come from HubSpot or from other tools. But this way, people can just here inline enter the data and fill it in the details, and then you will receive this information in your Typeform as you would do normally. So that's a great way to catch all these people that want to know more. You can then include them in specific campaigns so that they can receive more information, and hopefully they want to stick to your services or to your products, and that's how you can get to know your services a bit more. So now that my article is already finished, I have everything I needed. I can just approve it, and then I can already schedule it or publish it to my channels, to my blog, and also put it on social media if I want to. But that's it. It was really easy. It didn't take long at all. And now I know that my content is completely optimized and it's completely ready to be shown on the first page on Google, hopefully. So I'm going to have a look at other questions in here. For example, another question, how long does it take to rank on Google for a given keyword? That's actually a really good question. So Brick has already given here some information about it. So depending on the competition for a given keyword, you can see results within a month or longer or shorter. For keywords with big competition, it can take up to 2 or 5 months. It takes time, but it's really worth the effort once you begin appearing on the first page on Google. So the competition is indeed one of the factors that Liam here on this SEO course is explaining about, because when researching on keywords, you need to take care of at least 3 factors. The volume, so how many people out there are looking and searching for this word. The competition, so how many other competitors are also using that keyword and how good are they ranking for that keyword. And then also the intent. So what is the intention of the users typing or searching for that keyword? So you typically want a combination and a balance of those 3 to get your special keyword that is working really well for your content. But you will find all of that in this SEO course, so I do recommend that you have a look. And then I see another question here. How can I find stories with low SEO score in StoryChief? Yeah. Also a really good question. So if we go back to the stories overview, you can really create a filter and check this out really quickly. So here we have the list with all the stories that we have. And here we also have, for example, if we find some columns in here, we also see, for example, the SEO. So let's say I want to get rid of extra columns. Yes, for now, for example, this one, I leave these ones. Yeah, these ones that don't really bother me. So here, for example, for every published article or for every draft article that has been worked out, I find the SEO percentage and also the readability. So I can click on the column to rank it, so from higher to lower or the opposite, or you can also create a filter here and you look specifically for this variable. So you say, for example, that SEO score percentage is less than, for example, 50%. And then you would find the list of the stories that are within this filter, so that are less than 50% optimized for SEO. So that's a great way to do this. You can also save the filter. So now we don't have anyone, luckily, but I can save this filter and say, for example, SEO is lower than 50%. I save it, and then this segment will be saved forever in this left-hand side, so that I can always consult it, and new stories that are applying to this segment will also be included automatically. So I can have a look from time to time, see if there are any articles that can be improved thanks to the tips, and then I can just work them out and update them, for example, republish them, so that Google knows about those. So that's one of the ways to really have or make sure that all your stories are optimized. Any other questions or anything else that you would like to know? Now is the moment. Otherwise, I think we are finished for today. I hope you really learned and enjoyed what I've done here. The idea is that you get this webinar hands-on, that you really can do this on your own, and you don't need to be an expert to work on SEO. You get the tips and you can just work on them, and then you will get as far as you want on these percentages. We have a question that Brick is already replying. There is a specific user that can't find the lead capture. We can have a look also individually at your account and see how you can find it. But typically, what you do is you go to integrations here. And then, for example, here I have already one configuration. So, for example, I know that I have a contact form that is linked to the prospects ambassadors. So the contact form layout that is coming from StoryChief is always the same and cannot be changed. So it's always the first name, last name, and email address. So you cannot really tailor or change that. But this way you know that there is already one linked to this ambassador, or for example, there could be another one linked to your email. Let's do that, for example. I click on email, add new integration. I just need to give the email address where I want to receive those emails with those details. I click on save. I can give it another name for my contact form, which is internal, of course, and that's it. I can already embed this contact form into my story, which I can show. So here, for example, if I scroll down again and I go to our lead capture form, now I find the one that I've just created, which is going to be sent to my email address. So you can have as many as you want, but these are specifically from StoryChief, so the layout cannot really be tailored. If you want one that is tailored, then you can use one of the external integrations with Typeform, for example, which is the case, or HubSpot, or Upscribe, Google Forms. We have a few. Yeah, you're welcome. And then there is another question, but I cannot see the name, asking if we can publish a story directly on our own website. Yeah, that's exactly one of the big things that StoryChief does. All this content that you have written here, you can actually publish it to your audience, which can be your website, but also any additional channels such as Medium, your ambassadors, RSS feeds, another newsletter platforms, your social media channels. So this is a multi-channel platform where you write the content, you can also collaborate with your colleagues, and then you can publish it right away from StoryChief to all your channels. But we will probably give a webinar on this as well, so stay tuned. You can also give us your details if you want to be contacted, and then we can send you more information or show you a bit more around. Okay. But that's it from me today. As I said in the beginning, you will receive the recording of this webinar hopefully this week or maybe in the beginning of next one, because there is a bank holiday in Belgium this week. But I hope you liked it. I'm always available for feedback, so don't hesitate to send it over, and hopefully I'll see you in the next webinar.